Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is March 13th, 2026. And some statements by Laporta, they have raised some concerns. Because we talked about how Victor Font shot himself in the foot the other day. Today, I think it was Laporta's turn. Also, reports stating that Barcelona are now open to listening to offers for Alejandro Balde. And finally, Barcelona have said no to Dusan Vlahovic. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Boo, and welcome to the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments and reacting to them live. So start filling out the chat section with your comments, your questions, and anything else you want to discuss. For those of you who'll be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All of this helps the channel continue to grow. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to hit the Goal Kids, Get Back, or Fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to hit the Bet Us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news is comprised of multiple bits of news combined together for the sake of brevity. Started with, of course, this weekend we have the match against Sevilla, La Liga match against Sevilla. We also have elections. Sunday the 15th, we have Barcelona elections to see who will be the next FC Barcelona president. And again, on the same day, we'll be playing against Sevilla in La Liga at the Spotify Camp Nou. And of course, the team trained today ahead of that match. And we do have some good news because guess who was back in training? Well, it was no other than Lamine Yamal. Now, if you watch yesterday's video, you'll know that Lamine Yamal missed yesterday's training due to some discomfort. This, of course, raised alarms with people, speculating on what could have happened to Lamine. Is he injured? What's going on? Well, the club reassured everyone that it was simply an illness. He wasn't feeling well. It wasn't like fatigue. It wasn't muscular or anything like that, or any football-related injury. Let's put it that way. It was more of an illness, stomach flu, something like that, and that they expected Lamine Yamal to be back in training today normally and to be included in the squad list for Sunday's match. And well, lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Lamine Yamal trained today with total normalcy, so don't worry, Lamine is not injured and he will feature in the match against Sevilla. Now, another player that returned to training today was no other than Eric Garcia. Eric Garcia, who missed the midweek match against Newcastle in England due to an overload, to a muscle overload. Of course, Eric Garcia has been playing a lot of minutes. He's one of the most used players in Barcelona. But today, he too was back in training, trained with the group with total normalcy. So Eric Garcia is also expected to be back in the squad list for Sevilla. We'll see whether as a starter or someone who could come off the bench or maybe not play at all. But he is available. He is not injured. He is not ruled out of Sunday's match against Sevilla. Now on to the next bit of news. And this one is huge. Huge. Massive. I'm very, very happy about, in fact, because as you know, on Sunday against Sevilla, it will be the first time since the stadium closed for renovation that it will be able to host 62,000 people, because as I've reported previously, the city finally granted the 1C license to FC Barcelona, which will allow them to reopen the north goal, increasing the Camp Nou's capacity from 45,000 to 62,000 people. But that's not the news. You already knew that. I already told you about that. Well, the good news is that, ladies and gentlemen, the supporters section is officially back. Yes, you heard that right. The supporters section is officially back. Now, you might say, but Mo, they were back, against the Atletico Madrid match in the Copa del Rey semifinal. Yes, but that was only a temporary solution. That was only a one-match thing where Barcelona negotiated with the city an exception to bring the supporters section back, and they sat them in an area that's usually designated for regular fans. Because as you know, per the rules in all leagues, supporter sections are supposed to sit in a special section that's walled off from the rest of the stadium. They have their separate entrances, their separate tunnels for security reasons. So against Atletico Madrid, Barcelona negotiated to have them sit in an area that's usually designated for fans, and that was a one-time thing only. But now it's no longer a one-time thing only. The supporters section is officially back. They will be back at the stadium every single home match after, I think it's a year and a half, 2 years since Laporta suspended them because of fighting over, some fines that Barcelona had received, a total of 27,000 euros. Laporta sent it to the Peñas that comprise the supporter section. They said, we're not going to pay this, but we are willing to sit down and talk about it. Laporta said, you either pay or you're out. They didn't pay. He suspended them. And after, coincidentally, we have elections and all of a sudden they're back because obviously a lot of times there's a lot of chants in the stadium being heard. Supporter section, yes. Laporta, no. But anyways, the good news is that they are back and the club have made it official. I'm not making this up. This is not rumors. This is not speculation. This has officially been confirmed by FC Barcelona on their website through this official statement. This Sunday, March 15th, coinciding with the match against Sevilla, the new supporters area located in the first tier of the south goal. So this is also new because usually the supporter section sits in the north goal. So now they're going to be moved to the south goal, which of course clarifies the mystery of what was those seats that are covered right in south goal. There was a lot of speculation that that's going to be the supporter section, but I wasn't 100% sure because usually the supporter section, they sit in a north goal, but now it's confirmed they will sit in the south goal. So we continue. Will be launched at the stadium named Goal 1957 in tribute to the stadium inaugurated on September 24th, 1957. So the supporter section will be now called Goal 1957, and it will be in the south goal versus the north goal. Of course, the name is in honor to the date that the Spotify Camp Nou was inaugurated. This space is the result of the dialogue process that the club has maintained in recent months with representatives of the different supporters group. With the historic supporters groups, around 800 people will begin to bring this new era to life while the club continues working on a definitive proposal for the future supporters stand. So this is kind of like, it's not finalized. There might be some changes in the future, but they are back. 800 people will sit in that section. More on the statement, Barcelona said, on the other hand, after the club obtained this Tuesday the approval of the license corresponding to Phase 1C, it has been possible to enable the north goal area of the stadium. As previously announced, this new availability of seats has been allocated entirely to season ticket holder members. So north goal will be fully for season ticket holder members. Another word for Sochis who are season ticket holders. No supporter section because they're going to be sitting in the south goal, as well as to those who requested their pass last October and ultimately were unable to obtain one. Given that the number of applications received exceeded the total number of passes available for this area, the draw was held before a notary this past Wednesday to determine the selected individuals. Once the draw had taken place, the club has already communicated the result to the selected members, who may now proceed to formalize the purchase of their corresponding pass for this north goal area. So amazing news. Lamine back in training. Eddie Garcia back in training. The stadium will host 62,000 people. And ladies and gentlemen, the supporter section will be back right on time for my trip to Barcelona, which is not this weekend, next weekend against Rayo Vallecano. I'll be able to go back to the Camp Nou after 2 years. I'll be able to be in a stadium with 62,000 other people. And of course, I will be able to watch the match with the supporter section chanting the entire 90 minutes. So great news. And now we'll end this segment with some pretty cool news in regards to Barcelona. Proof that Barcelona is más que un club, because these will be the numbers or the font that will be used in the match at the Camp Nou against Newcastle on March 21st. And this, if you don't know why these numbers or letters look different, it's an effort by the Barcelona Foundation, because on March 21st is the International Day of Down Syndrome, and to raise awareness and to show support to the Down syndrome community all around the world, Barcelona will use the font known as Anna font, because it's named after Anna Vives, a person with Down syndrome who designed this font, and as such, the names and the numbers on the back of the Barcelona players' shirts or kits will have the Anna font in honor of people who have Down syndrome, to honor the International Day of Down Syndrome, which falls on March 21st. And I got goosebumps just talking about it because, ladies and gentlemen, más que un club. Those who are not Barca fans will never understand. All right, let's start with the comment section. Then we are going to talk about Laporta kind of shooting himself in the foot with some statements. It looks to be like this is the election of morons, because I watched the debate yesterday, and my God, I feel like my IQ was lowered because both Laporta and Victor Font made fools out of themselves, consistently talking over each other, interrupting each other, getting off topic, just trying to land jabs on each other. I felt way dumber after I was watching that debate. I honestly don't know how there can be people who defend Laporta at all costs. The same way I don't understand how there are people who defend Victor Font at all costs. I have come to the conclusion both of them are fucking idiots and we deserve better. Simple. Simple as that. Shameful debate. I'm honestly embarrassed that this is the best we could do, but I'm going to do a video about it. Don't worry. I'm going to do a video about it. I tried to make a video yesterday, but I was honestly so pissed off. I was like, what is this shit I'm watching? It's like Jerry fucking Springer. And I will make a video once I've relaxed and calmed down, because my God, what an embarrassing performance. There were no winners. In fact, there were losers, and the losers are us, Barcelona fans, because we have to pick between an idiot and another idiot. Anyways, let's do some comments. And then we'll talk about one of the idiots' comments that definitely raised concerns. Ahmad says, so let me get this right. Sell Balde, but renew Lewa, Ferran, Eric Christensen, or whatever his name is. Eric Christian? Who's Eric Christian? Oh, Andreas Christensen. I don't get this club sometimes, man. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit because, yes, I am going to be mad when I touch on that segment. And I might curse. So, sometimes people are like, no, why do you curse so much? Stop cursing. If you're one of those people, just be warned. There's some cursing coming your way. Costa says, not sure if it's a good idea to sell Balde if we don't have a good replacement yet. More like sell Kunde, keep Cancel. Oh, no. I was with you until you hit me with the sell Kunde, keep Cancelo. Then I was like, no. It's like we were driving, we were cruising, and then last second you went, just fucking flew us off a cliff. Get Hector Fort back and have him alternate with Xabi Espart. I'm all for Hector Fort coming back. I'm all for Xabi Espart. But to keep Cancelo over Kunde, my friend, do not drive us off a cliff, please. Johnny Son says they going to sell Balde for 10 mil to piss us off. Might as well keep him. We'll talk about Balde in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Hey, Bob, hey, Chuchu! What's up, Chuchu? Says, I pray and hope Balde leaves this club called Barcelona. Barca fans who don't watch the BT games think that Torrent is going to be a replacement. You guys are about to have a huge awakening. We're not talking about Torrent, but we are going to talk about Balde. So again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll get to that in a little bit. And Mike Valencia says, another year of Lewy and Ferran? Oh, please, this board is not serious. Laporta is lucky his opponent is a moron, or else someone else would run this club. Honestly, like I said, I've reached a conclusion that they're both morons, and I cannot believe that this is who we have to choose from. A moron and a moron. And to think that there are people who defend these morons at all costs tells me that, unfortunately, there's also a lot of morons out there, too. And, that's where we headed. And people wonder, how did Bartomeu become president? How did Bartomeu get away with all... Well, we have a lot of morons in this world, unfortunately. Have you guys ever watched that movie? What is it? Idiocracy? It's becoming true. The dumb people are multiplying a lot faster than the smart people. And reason and critical thinking is dying at a faster rate than anything else, than this planet, probably. So, yes, there's a lot of morons out there. It's unfortunate. It's kind of like... no, actually, I'm not going to do it. I was going to do another segment. I should start a segment called The Moronic Things Mo Has to Read in the Comment Section. Or maybe no, we'll call it The Darnest Things People Say. And I just cover, the the winning comments. One winning comment was, I said Olmo is very inconsistent, and someone replied, well, you're just talking from hindsight. And I swear to God, I burst out. I laughed so loud that my roommate, who was in the first floor, was like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, yes, you won't believe what I just read. Someone just told me that I'm just reacting. I'm talking from hindsight. So in other words, if you sign a player and a player doesn't work out, you cannot criticize it because you're talking from hindsight. You can only criticize him if you predict that the player is going to be bad. Yes, I'm not going to say names or who said that, but this is where we at, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we at in the world. Stupidity is on the rise. Critical thinking is dying. Dying. Ahmad Ashraf says, Bo, if Chelsea actually want Ferran for 80 million and they have set a 100 million cap for Julian Alvarez, how about we combine the money and buy Haaland at number 9 for 180 million? I mean, Haaland is not for sale, so we can combine everything we want. City's not going to sell him. And here's the thing about oil clubs. They don't need the money. So this is not like going to Girona and they're like, they have the star who they need, who they don't want to sell, but you're like, hey, look, I got money. You want some money? And they're like, fuck, I don't want to sell this guy, but I need the money, so fuck it, I'll sell him. No, these oil clubs are like 180, 200. I don't care. That's like changing my sofa, So no. Barca Mama says Xavi Sparta has played literally 2 minutes for the first team, nowhere close to being ready for steady first team time. That's true. I think I would want to see Sparta getting more minutes before, we could talk about him, being a regular in the first team, let alone as a starter. He shows potential, but we've also seen a lot of players show potential, and then eventually they plateau or they take a nosedive. So, before we could talk about Xavi Sparta being a starter or Xavi Sparta being a regular on the first team, we need to see more. But, unfortunately, in football and other sports, people are very, what's the word that I'm blanking on? I don't know why I use this word all the time, and it's just not registering. But, they, it's like they see a player give one good match. All of a sudden, he's the best ever. He's better than Messi. And then they see a player who does great 10 matches. Then he has one bad match, and now he's the worst ever, and they sell. But unfortunately, people are not patient. People just want to immediate results, and their opinion changes with the wind. But anyways. Let's get back to the news. Because we do have to talk about Laporta. We talked about how Victor Font the other day shot himself in the foot, talking about how Laporta is the worst president in the history of the club. And I said, come on, bro, you can criticize him. There's a lot of red flags there, but to say he's somehow worse than Bartomeu, that was a stretch. Well, now Laporta has said something else dumb, and this is why I said a few minutes ago, I'm very disappointed that we have moron versus moron, and our two choices are between a moron and a moron for the presidency of Barcelona. But let's look at what Laporta said today, because Laporta was incredibly upset at Iban de la Peña. If you don't know who Iban de la Peña is, former football player. He played in Barcelona. He's now an agent. He represents people like Gabi, and he also represents Dro. Now, we all know what happened with Dro. Hansi Flick calls him up to the first team. He looks promising. We're all excited. Next thing you know, boom, he's gone to PSG. So Laporta now is blaming Iban de la Peña on Dro's departure, and his statements raise some big concerns. And I'll tell you why they raise big concerns, because even though a lot of channels and news outlets have picked up these statements, a lot of people seem to glance over the real repercussions or what of these statements or what they actually mean. Because again, critical thinking is dying at a very fast rate. So now people don't want to dig past the surface. Now, let's look at what Laporta said, because he said the following about Iban de la Peña. With Jorge Mendes, or Jorge Mendes, I should say, he's Portuguese, not Spanish. With Jorge Mendes, we've kept Lamine, and we haven't had the same problem as with Lopelat. Lopelat is the nickname of Ivan de la Peña back when he was a football player. So he's talking about Ivan de la Peña. Where Dro went to PSG because of him. If Jorge Mendes had Dro, it wouldn't have happened. And then Laporta called Dro's exit a betrayal and a disgrace and a treacherous backstab. So Laporta saying that Ivan de la Peña betrayed Barca, backstabbed Barca in taking Dro to PSG. And if this was Jorge Mendes, then this wouldn't have happened. And here's why I say that Joan Laporta went on to say something incredibly dumb. Because, for starters, let's make this clear. Why would it be a betrayal that Ivan de la Peña took Dro? Ivan de la Peña is not an employee of FC Barcelona. Ivan de la Peña has no duty to Barcelona. Ivan de la Peña has no obligation or loyalty to Barcelona. He's a football agent. His loyalty and his legal duty is to his client, Dro. So, as an agent of the player, your legal duty is to do what's best for your player. And if PSG comes and offers your player, who you have a legal duty to triple or quadruple the salary, guaranteed first team minutes, of course you're going to bring that offer to your player. You're legally required to do so. And of course you're going to recommend that he takes that offer because it's much better. So Ivan de la Peña acting and doing what's best for his client is not betrayal of Barcelona. It's literally what he's getting paid to do, and it's literally his legal duty. And Joan Laporta, as a lawyer, should know this. Second point, if Laporta is saying that if this was Jorge Mendes, Dro wouldn't have left, then where the fuck does Deco fit in all this? Because apparently the difference between Dro leaving and Dro staying is the agent, not the sporting director. So what is Deco's job? Because Deco, as the sporting director, his job is not only to sign players, his job is also to renew players, and his job is to retain players that the club plans to retain. So if the difference between a player leaving or staying is his agent, what the fuck is Deco's job? Can someone tell me? Because if a club like PSG goes to the agent, Ivan de la Peña, and says, look, we're offering this much better, then it's now our turn to counteroffer and say, no, we want to keep this guy, so let me offer you a better deal than PSG. Or maybe not a better deal monetarily, maybe, I don't know, minutes, or maybe a promise of a better project, or maybe a better salary. Maybe not as high as PSG, but higher than what you're getting paid right now. Something. That's Deco's job. It's not the football agent's job. The agent's job is to bring the offers to the player and recommend the best one. And if your sporting director cannot compete with that, that's not the agent's fault. That's your sporting director's fault. And number 3, and this is the most important one, because we already know that Deco's useless, and we already know that Laporta says dumb shit all the time, but his bootlickers buy it and eat it up like cereal. The third most important point is the power that Jorge Mendes holds. Because this has been talked about for quite some time now by a lot of reporters very close to the club who say that Jorge Mendes wields immense power within the club because this current board owe him a lot of favors. And that's why we've seen some very strange signings. For example, Joao Cancelo and Joao Felix, who Xabi explicitly said he didn't want, and yet they brought him. And there was a lot of speculation that was Jorge Mendes saying, Look, I got two guys. I got Cancelo, who wants to leave City. I got Felix, who wants to leave Atletico Madrid. Hey, Barca, you're going to take them. No, thank you. We don't want them. Xavi doesn't want them. I don't care. You owe me favors. You're going to take them. Okay, bring them. That's what they say is happening with the Cancelo deal now. Because remember, Cancelo wasn't even on Barca's radar. He's in Saudi. Nobody's talking about him. Nobody even knows what's going on. And all of a sudden, Flick wants a center back. Cool. Let's bring him Joao Cancelo, who's not a center back and who can't even defend. Again, there was a lot of speculation that this is Jorge Mendes is doing. He has his client. He wants to get out of Saudi. Hey, Barca, you're taking him. No, we're looking for a center back. Flick doesn't really want him. I don't care. You're taking him. You owe me a favor for what happened with Ansu Fati. I took him to Monaco. I convinced Monaco to take him. I convinced the player to go to Monaco. So now you owe me. And there's been a lot of talk about this influence and power that Jorge Mendes has over this president and his board. And I think Jean Laporta sort of confirms this because he's saying if it was for Jorge Mendes, this player would have stayed. So what does that tell you? That the decision of what players leave and what players stay is not up to Laporta. It's not up to Deco. It's up to Jorge Mendes. And that's the huge implication that a lot of people are missing. A lot of people who reported about these statements and just moved on, just glanced over them without scratching the surface and realizing what these statements imply. Because this is huge. You're telling me the only difference between a player leaving or staying is Jorge Mendes? Why? It should be your decision. It should be Deco's decision, not Jorge Mendes. And this is why I say these statements have a lot bigger implications than people are talking about. Anyways, you guys let me know, what do you think about these idiotic statements blaming the agent of a football player for betraying the club? Bro, it doesn't work for you. What the fuck is wrong? This is what I mean. These elections are about choosing between a moron and a moron. Great time to be a Barcelona fan. All right, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Alejandro Balde, which I know a lot of you want to talk about. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off? Chuchu says, Xavi Spar has always been good with more games and confidence. He will be very decent. Been following him from the juvenil days. And Ahmad Ashraf says, Mo, if Chelsea actually want Ferran for 80, they were saying it was Newcastle. And Barca have said, oh, wait, I already read that. Zeke says they'll sell Balde and buy Rashford. That will be really dumb. The purchase of Rashford is reckless. I'd rather bring Jean Bergili back and keep Balde. We'll talk about Balde in a little bit. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Kill a king. No, don't kill a king. Just kidding. Kill a king. No, do whatever you want. Says, finally, the stadium will have some noise. Let's go. Yeah, man. Because, look, I went to Montjuic. When we played at Montjuic, without the supporter section. And it was a library. You could literally go there, sit with a book, read it, and be totally fine because it was so quiet. It was all tourists, and they started doing the wave. And I feel like anyone who does the wave at a stadium needs to be banned forever from football. Take that shit to American sports, okay? Take that shit to the NFL, to baseball, to basketball. Do that dumb shit, scream defense and clap and do the chicken dance and the wave. Take that, leave that for American sports. Football or soccer, please. No. We have real passion in this sport. We don't need this dumb wave. The fuck is that? Let's see. And Firaz Deep says, hi, Mo, introduce your dog to us. My dog is, I don't know if you see him, but he is literally on his back with his belly facing up. Marshall. He's like passed out. Marshall, come here, Bubba. Come here. Let's introduce you to... Sit. Yeah, I'm going to take out the comments so you can see him better. All right. I'm going to get up for this. Come here, Bubba. Let's say hello. Ugh. Oh no, I got his hair in my mouth. Yes, so that's Marshall. He's a golden doodle. He's a standard size golden doodle. He's a big boy, as you can see. When he stands on his hind legs, he's like up to my chest. He is about to be 7 years old in May. I've had him since he was a puppy. He was this big. He was 8 pounds when I got him. And now he is 80 pounds. Big boy. But that's Marshall. He's the official mascot of Barca News. Let's see. Lorenzo says, why do we keep buying attackers when we need quality center back? Actually, I disagree that our number one priority should be attacker. Would it be nice to have competition for Koundé and Balde? Sure. Would it be nice to get a left-footed center back? Sure. But that is no way that's the priority. We have 4 center backs. We have Koundé and Hector Fort next season and Xavi Espar, who can all compete for that position. We have Balde on the left, and we might have Jofre Torrens compete with him. Maybe we can bring someone else. I mean, we have a lot of options in those positions. We have 0 options in a center forward position. Sworn says, hi, Mo. I got a big hike today. I barely survived on the wages I had for my first year at work. Today's a good day, and I wanted to share my happiness. Let's fucking go. Oh, wait. Where's my horn? Let's fucking go. Congratulations, my friend. That is absolutely amazing news. I know what it feels like to be, paycheck to paycheck. Thankfully, that's no longer the case. So congratulations, my friend. I wish you lots of success. And I wish you continuous raises to the point where just making it rain, throwing money in the air. Don't care because you're making that much. But congratulations, my friend. And let's do one more comment and then we'll get back to the news. Shar says, why everybody acted like Balde is a top wingback? I literally finished and watched Cancelo took his place and provided more attacking output. This season, he has been shit defensively. Because he is. That's why everyone is acting like, because he is. I mean, sure, he's having a bad season, but we've all seen what Balde could do. Plus, don't forget, Balde is 21 years old. He's nowhere near his prime. He hasn't even started his prime. He's not even close to starting his prime. So, yeah. Anyways, let's get back to the news. That's a great segue to talk about Alejandro Balde because, well, we got to talk about Alejandro Balde. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Marca reporting today. See how I used the Alejandro Balde picture for the Jorge Mendes story? Because, we were going to talk about him anyway. But anyways, today, Marca reporting that Barcelona are now open to hearing offers for the Barcelona left back. Now, this doesn't mean that Barcelona are actively putting Alejandro Balde on the market. Doesn't mean that Barcelona want to necessarily sell him. They've told him, hey, we're going to sell you, and they're like putting it out there. However, if an offer comes for Balde, that's attractive. 60 million, something like that, maybe more, then Barcelona would consider. In other words, Balde is no longer non-transferable, right? And what's the difference? Because you're like, all right, well, they're going to hear offers, but he's not really for sale. There's a difference between non-transferable versus open to offers versus for sale. For sale is a player you don't want. That's it. We're going to put you on the market and sell you because we don't want you. Non-transferable, he's not for sale. We're keeping him, and we don't care what kind of offer comes. If someone comes and says 300 million for Lamine, I don't care. He's not for sale. Take your 300 million and put it up where the sun don't shine. And then there is the middle, in between the two, where the player is not necessarily for sale. He's not for sale. But if a good offer comes, you're like, maybe we should sell because this is good offer. And, I'm okay saying no to the player, letting go of the player, even though I might rather keep him. Okay? So Balde has now moved from the non-transferable to he's not for sale. But if a good offer comes, we would be open to selling him. And this could be both a reflection of how Balde's season's going, which is not great, and could also be a way for Barcelona to raise funds. Because as we know, the priority is the center forward and the center back position. And now that I've told you the news, here comes my reaction. I'm going to try not to curse because this pisses me off, but I can't promise you anything. Because you're telling me that you want to raise funds and you're open to selling Balde, but you want to renew Ferran? In what world does getting rid of Balde over Ferran make any sense? Also, that's not the only option. Laporta has said in his most recent interview in his campaign that he's okay with keeping Ferran and Lewy for another season. So not only would this mean keeping Ferran over Balde, which is next level stupidity, but that would also mean renewing Lewandowski, which, don't get me wrong, I love Lewy. When he came to Barca, I was incredibly happy. He's one of my favorite players of this generation. But his time is up. And to tell me that you would rather renew a 37-year-old center forward over keeping Balde, next level stupidity. Ronald Araujo, how about him? He's been underperforming for what, 2-3 seasons now? He goes on his spiritual retreat. We're like, all right, cool. Hopefully he's back. What does he do against Newcastle? He butt scoots and causes us to concede. He fucking butt scoots. Guys, we're talking about a veteran, okay, here. He's a captain. Motherfucker butt scoots and allows Newcastle to score a goal against us. Some retarded fucking shit. And you're telling me you'd rather keep the guy who butt scoots and causes us a goal? Another mistake in his third season in the Champions League. Third mistake in a row in the Champions League. Over Balde. Next level stupidity. That's what this board is. That's what Deco is. That's what Laporta is. Next level stupidity. Because if Balde is sold, it would be a huge mistake. Yes, no one's denying that Balde is not having the best of seasons. But let's not forget that Balde is not having a bad season because he sucks or he doesn't have the skills or the talent or the quality to be a Barcelona player. Because we've seen what he has done in previous seasons. He has more than enough quality to be a Barcelona player and a Barcelona starter. This is not like the case of Ferran. Ferran is sucking not because he's having a bad season, because that's his limit. Ferran doesn't have the quality to be a Barcelona player. That's why he sucks. It's not because he's going through rough time. It's not because he's having a bad... No. He's just not good enough. He just doesn't have what it takes. And no matter how much he tries, no matter how much he trains, and no matter how many, a few matches here and there that he shines, overall, he just doesn't have the required skill and talent to be a Barcelona striker. That's not the case with Balde. Balde has more than enough quality to be a Barcelona starter because he's shown us that quality season after season up until this season. Let's not forget, this guy at 18 years old benched Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba, one of the best left backs we've had in the 21st century. And let's not forget that he's only 21 years old. We haven't even seen what this guy is capable of, even though he's shown us great things in the past seasons. So what I truly think the problem with Balde is that we have yet to have a coach that could truly unleash him. Or maybe he just doesn't have the competition, and that's why his performance has gone down. We saw it with Jordi Alba, right? Absolutely amazing. But after so many years of nobody even coming close to competing with him, his performance dipped. Alejandro Balde comes, benches him, and all of a sudden, Jordi Alba's performance goes up. Still not enough to bench Balde back, but his performance definitely improved. And I think that's what's happening with Balde. Because Balde, since he turned 18 and benched Jordi Alba, he hasn't had any competition. And I think that's why his performance has gone down. But to sell a 21-year-old academy player who's shown tremendous potential, who's only 21. So that potential is only going to keep growing and getting better. For what? So in next season or 2 seasons from now, we're pulling our hairs and saying, look what we did. Top line stupidity. This is prime stupidity. It's stupidity at its best. This is why I say this election is about choosing a moron versus a moron. But let's get back to the comment section. And then we're going to talk about Dusan Vlahovic, the Serbian. He's Serbian, right? Yeah, he's Serbian. Let's see. Chuchu says, reactionary, prisoners of the moment, you mean more? Yes, that's not the word. Fickle. Finally, I remember the word fickle. I was thinking about fickle. A lot of fans are fickle. You know, you have a player who can have 10 great matches, then he has one bad one, and it's like all of a sudden he's the worst ever. Or you can have a player who has 10 bad matches, then he has a good one, and all of a sudden he's messy. The Jeff says, I don't want Haaland. I'm also a City fan, and I'll tell you that guy doesn't press at all. He goes back and defends sometimes, but he doesn't press, and it's so annoying that he misses a lot of chances. To me, Haaland is the best center forward there is in the world. I would love to have Haaland. I think Haaland in Barca would be an absolute machine. Can you imagine Haaland being fed balls by Lamine, by Pedri, by Bernal? I mean, it would be insane, but I also think that window is long gone, right? There are only a few players in the world who are like world class, you know, the Haalands, the Mbappes, the Lamines of the world, right? There's only very few of those players who are so talented, so skilled, such difference makers. And because there's so few of them and they're so good, their prices are obviously astronomical. You know, if you try to sign Lamine from another team to bring him to Barca, he would probably cost us 250 million. Same with Haaland, same with Mbappe. So these players, if you don't sign them early on when their prices are still affordable, then that's it. The ship has sailed, right? And by the way, we had the chance to sign Haaland. I think his value at the time was 40 million, something like that. And Bartomeu decided that signing Braithwaite would be a better idea. Braithwaite. We're not talking about, we had the chance to sign Haaland and we signed Lewy instead, or we signed, I don't know, Luis Suarez instead. Okay, that makes sense. You know, you still got a great striker. But I don't know. Braithwaite. Bartomeu thought that Braithwaite was a better option than Haaland. Jesus Christ. Like, I laugh because I don't want to cry. But no, I think Haaland would be an amazing addition, but that ship has long sailed. I mean, at this point, there's just no way. The only way we can sign Haaland is if we sign him at 34 years old when his price is starting to come down. But yeah, those kind of players like Haaland, like Mbappe, like Lamine, if you don't sign them early on, or in the case of Barca, if you don't raise them in your academy, that ship has sailed, because we would have to, you know, drop 200 million or something else, something like that. Barca Daddy says, we have Barca Mama, and now we have Barca Daddy. I love it. We need a Barca son now. Barca Daddy finally joins the live just because my daughter is sick and can't sleep. But Mo, why doesn't Flick use Rashford as 9? Both Lewy and Torres are so bad right now. Well, I'm sorry to hear that about your daughter, my friend. I hope she recovers soon. So I wish her a speedy recovery. But, you know, I've gotten this question a lot, and I feel like Flick must be seeing something. He must be seeing that Lewy and Ferran are better options at Rashford in the 9, even though they're not great options. But that must mean that maybe Rashford in training as a 9 is even worse, which I can't imagine there being a worse level. But apparently there is, because I don't think, we're talking about Flick, right? We're talking about one of the best coaches right now in the world. There's no way Flick is missing this. There's no way Flick is seeing Rashford killing it in training as number 9 and thinking, oh, I'd rather go with Ferran. Or there's no way that Flick hasn't even thought about, like, oh, what if I put Rashford as the 9? Like, there's no way. If he's not doing it, it's because he's seen in training that maybe Ferran and Lewy are better options than Rashford in the 9, which means that Rashford must be really sucking as a 9 in the training, because, I mean, come on. Barca Got Culture says Deco shouldn't do anything. They pay his release clause at the point he could do anything. He could. He could convince the player to stay. Just because you pay a release clause of a player doesn't mean that's it is yours. The player has to agree to go. Remember, these are not slaves, okay? This is not chattel. You don't just, oh, I'm paying release clause, so I'm taking him. He's mine now. That's not how it works. You first have to convince the player to come to your club, and if the player agrees, then you pay the release clause. So Deco's job would have been to convince Dro not to go, and then if Dro says no, it doesn't matter whether PSG has the money to pay his release clause, because why? Players are not slaves, okay? They have to agree to go to your club. You can't just, oh, pay release clause, he's mine. I'm just going to tie him up and gag him and blindfold him and put him in a box and take him. That's not how it works, okay? Also, how about Mardieu, right? I mean, we decided Mardieu wanted a higher salary. We said no. So Chelsea came, paid him a higher salary, and took him. And what did we do? We spent 30 plus 35 on Vitor Roque. I mean, how about offering Mardieu a little higher salary? It wouldn't have cost you 30 plus 35. It would have cost you way less. And honestly, I would much rather keep an academy player over some guy in Brazil that we don't know how he's going to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, they both suck, but I would rather keep the sucky guy at the academy who cost me nothing than bring a sucky guy who cost me 65 mil. So, yeah, Deco is at fault because you have to convince the player to go to your club in order to pay his release clause. Let's see. Barca Mama says Marshall looks like a sleepy boy. How handsome. I woke him up, so that's why. And now he's back to sleep. He's like passed out, like right behind me. Like I'm not going to be able to get up once the podcast is over because if I push my chair back, I'm going to hit him in his head. So it's over. I'm sleeping here tonight. I'm just going to be like, and then people will be like, hey, why are you sleeping at your desk? Well, my dog is right behind me. We have a donation and I didn't even notice. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Ray Ramos with a donation. Thank you so much, my friend. Wait, is that Shane but undercovered? I'm so sorry I didn't see your donation. I totally missed it. I got carried away. But Ray Ramos says, Marshall is the best boy. Remember to like, subscribe, guys, and happy Friday. Thank you, my friend. Thank you a million times. Thank you on your generosity. And yes, please subscribe. Hit the like button. Drop a comment. All these things help the channel continue to grow. And now let's do one more comment and we'll do the last bit of news, which is in regards to Dusan Vlahovic. You like that? Ooh, Mo got the moves. Sam, actually, sorry, Sam. I'll read your comment, I promise. But I was trying to click on say more. Say more says, why are we? I think that's what you meant, right? We're not talking about Victor Osimhen because he's expensive, my friend. He's expensive. I've said this before. We cannot afford Osimhen. We can't. Galatasaray paid 75 million euros for him. Right now, he's killing it for them, which means they're not going to look to sell. And if they look to sell, it's not going to be for 75 mil because that's what they paid for, and he's an incredibly important player. So they're talking about 90 plus, something north of 90. Because, of course, if you pay 75 for someone and now he's blowing it up for you, why would you want to sell him? And if you're forced to sell him, you're definitely not going to sell your best player for what you paid for or let alone for less. You're going to want a lot more than what you paid for because, bro, he's killing it for you. I mean, if you're going to get rid of your best player, it's going to have to be for a lot of money. And if you already paid 75, a lot of money means a lot more than 75. That's why we're not talking about Osimhen. Plus, I do want to say this, not to downplay Osimhen's skills, but killing it in the Turkish league is not the same as killing it in La Liga. Let's just leave it like that. I'm not saying Osimhen sucks, but I know a lot of people getting, carried away with what he's doing in Turkey, and they think that because he's putting up 50 goals for Galatasaray, that he's going to come to Barca and put up 50 goals for us. And that's not how it works. It doesn't translate like that. Again, not saying that Osimhen is bad. I'm just saying, if he comes to Barca, don't expect the same numbers in La Liga as he's putting up in a Turkish league. Anyways, let's end this video with some news about some strikers. Well, just one striker since we just mentioned Victor Osimhen. But let's talk about Dusan Vlahovic, because ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona has said no to the Serbian center forward. How do you say no in Serbian? No, let me see. No in Serbian. It's, whoa. Brr. Brr. I think it's Gucci Mane. You guys have to hear this. Let me see. Let's take the mute. Let's put this up. Brr. 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 I'm not making this up. This is how you say no in Serbian. Brr. 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 It's Gucci Mane. Brr. Brr. I love it. I fucking love it. Anyways, Barcelona have said to Dusan Vlahovic, brr, which means no in Serbian. Now, as you know by now, Barcelona were considering signing Vlahovic for the summer, not because he's the most exciting option, but more as a market opportunity, because Vlahovic, up to this point, has had no plans to renew his contract with Juventus, and since his contract expired this summer, he was going to be a free agent. And given that he's 25 years old, prime years, he's an actual center forward, not a second striker or some kind of invention. He has experience. He killed it at some point, not anymore. So this was kind of like a good market opportunity to bring someone for free who has experience, who's a center forward, who's in his prime. Now, Barcelona had met with Vlahovic's agent and communicated their interest in him as a possible signing for the summer to replace Lewy. And the player was very excited about the idea. But now, after mulling it over, Barcelona have decided to pass on this opportunity because they believe that between Vlahovic's injuries plus his modest numbers, let's put it that way, these last couple of seasons with Juventus, they've decided that maybe this is not the best option for Barca. So they have communicated to the player that no, they will not be moving forward with a signing this summer. As such, Vlahovic, having kind of excited about the idea to move to Barca. Now that Barca have closed the door, he has now decided to extend his contract with Juventus for 2 more seasons, where he's expected to lower his salary, because I think right now he has one of the highest salaries in the Serie A. So, by the way, mistake for Dusan. Even if Barca don't want to bring him, I don't know why you would want to stay at Juventus. I mean, it's a declining club in a declining league. But anyways, that's neither here nor there, nor is it my business. He knows what he's doing. So it looks like since Barca said no to him, he will be staying at Juventus. Now, I got to say, this is not like a like a loss or anything. Like, oh my God, Vlahovic, please come. But it did make sense to me when Barcelona were considering it. Even though I'm not a huge fan, I don't think this is like, oh, we got to get Vlahovic, bro. If we don't get Vlahovic, we suck. But it did make sense because for everything that I mentioned, right? He is 25, so he's in his prime years. He's an actual center forward. He has experience. And at some point, he looked pretty good. I mean, at Fiorentina, he was an absolute baller. Even at Juventus at the beginning, he was balling out. Now, not so much. But that could also be explained by the decline of Juventus. So I thought it was a decent option, especially because he would come for free. But it looks like Barcelona have moved on. And again, with Vlahovic, it made sense to me. I wasn't excited about it. So now that Barcelona are not going to be moving forward with it, I'm not like, oh my God, do something, please, bro. Come back. That's not the case. I'm like, whatever. If he would have come, it would have made sense to me. But since he's not coming, I'm like, whatever. However, of course, the question will be, who will be now the next option that Barcelona will consider? Because given the market conditions, just can't think of anyone. We either have strikers who are incredibly expensive because they're world class and we cannot afford, or the more affordable strikers are people with no experience, people like Aslani, Fisnik, right? Which you can't be bringing someone with no experience to start in a center forward position for one of the biggest clubs in the world. So we'll see who Barcelona will land on, but just know that Dusan Vlahovic will not be amongst those. All right, let's do the comment section, and then we'll end this live because that was all the news I had for you in this live, but I will be posting another video after this one. I will cover briefly the debate, which was an incredibly disappointing debate. It was not a debate. It was two guys. It was a pissing match. That's what it was. Two guys measuring their dicks and who has it longer. All right, let's do the comments. Sam, I promised I would read your comment, so I am reading your comment, my friend. But Sam says, I have realized that as the season is progressing, we are losing our mentality of never searching for excuses in our losses. I don't know about that. I feel like Hansi Flick always maintains the same message where, you know, forget the ref, forget everything. It's, you know, it's up to us. We cannot control, or we cannot cry about things we cannot control. We can only worry about things that we actually control. And the ref, the state of the pitch, things like that, you know, those are not things that you can control. And such, we shouldn't be, you know, obsessing over them. Let's see what else. Stray that says I would sell Balde for anything over 40 mil. I wouldn't, because let's say you sell him for 40 mil. Who would you replace him with? Someone that would cost 40 mil. Also, that's the same age. Right? Don't tell me about some Dumfries who's fucking 32, or, you know, that's got to come for a season or two and then that's it. So you tell me, who can you sign for 40 million, who's 21 years old, who has the potential that Alejandro Balde has? And I'll tell you, okay, let's sell him right now. You tell me that, and I will agree with you. Let's see. Alan says, my aunt had Down syndrome, and this is a lovely touch. That's amazing that, yeah, the club is doing this. It really is. Maybe you could get, wait, you're saying your aunt had. Did she pass? If so, I'm sorry for your loss. But if not, maybe getting her a kit with these numbers would be cool. Or well, actually, I don't even know if they're going to sell them. It would be cool if they did, like a special edition with that font. I think that would be a really cool thing. Maybe you can get her that as a gift. That'd be amazing. Alhaji Bieber says, good morning, Mo. I'm so happy to be here again after a while. It's your friend, Alhaji Bieber says, safe. I'm from Sierra Leone. Thank you very much for every news you have given us. No, thank you, my friend. And it's good to see you back in the chat section. I hadn't seen you in a while, but it's good to see you back. And then we have Nathan with a donation who says, what about Solanke from Tottenham if they get relegated? Man, I don't see them getting relegated, honestly. If they did, it'd be funny. Well, it's not funny because they're going to lose a lot of money and a lot of players are going to leave and things like that. But I don't know. It's always funny to make fun of Tottenham. But I just don't see it. But, I mean, if they do get relegated, man, it's going to be a fire sale. A fire sale of players. And let's see. Okay, so it's not Shin disguised. Okay. Ray Ramos donated $20, and I thought it might be you, Shin, masquerading as someone else since, you know, you used to change your name every other week. So I was like, wait, is this Shin changing his name again? But Shin says, sorry for being late to the party, bro. Gave myself and a crew a full weekend before we start a 10-hour days again. Hope you're well, bud, at Bisca Barca. Bisca Barca, my friend. I'm glad that you and your crew will get the weekend off. Enjoy it, get plenty of sleep, drink a lot of beer, and then, you know, be ready for that week because it sounds like, wow, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. But I'm glad you can join us. Thank you. Thank you for joining us despite being so busy. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off? Gold, CJ Messi says, and I mean, what else have we got to lose as we have an old Lewy who can't play 90 minutes and Ferran, in which I think he needs to go back to the academy. So, yeah, Rashi. Yeah, but Rashford is not really a 9. So that's not really a replacement for those two guys. And Edward says Rashi has speed on the flanks, but no to renewing Ferran. Isn't Lewy making 25 mil his final season? Is he going to take a reduction? Supposedly, Lewy would be willing to take a reduction, but even if he accepts like $1 million, we got to move on, man. And I love Lewy. Like, it pains me to say that, but let's be real. We got to move on. Like, his time is up. I think this is the time for him to, go to something like the MLS, like Saudi, J League, something like that. But his time in, top-notch football, top-flight football, uh, you know, it's time. Time. All right, let's see. What else? Blaurada X. What's up, my friend? He says, you do know Barca is willing to pay 100 million in bonuses for a striker, right? Not that I'm aware of. I mean, where are we going to get 100 million from? Reaper X says, well, the deal is temporary off because of the Barca election. You guys believe that the news of Barca got to spend 100 million on a striker is just political communication from Laporta. We don't even have this money. I haven't heard anything about 100 million, but yeah, I don't for 1 second believe that we're going to pay 100 million for a striker. Where are we going to get 100 million from? Chris Cross says, I don't want to be hard on the guy, but I was right when I told you he's a headless chicken, and now Deco and company see it the same way. He's not a headless chicken. Flick doesn't see it that way. And if Deco sees it that way, well, we already know how useless Deco is. So I don't really care about how Deco sees things because we've seen that Deco. It wasn't until Joao Amaral arrived at the club that we actually started making good signings. Deco so far has been incredibly disappointing. So I think you're in that boat alone, my friend. I don't think anyone sees Balde as a headless chicken. Definitely not Flick. Which, of course, I care more about what Flick thinks about the players than about what the idiot Deco does. Shin the Master says, I'm having myself some good beer. So much so I forgot to make my donation. Not masquerading anymore. Job is about done, but it's time for the final push. That's what's up. First of all, thank you for your donation, my friend. I'm glad to know that. Well, actually, you did change your name. Now it's the Master because, of course, you passed your exam. So that's amazing. Congratulations again on that. I know that was not easy to get to that level. But yes, enjoy your beer. You deserve it. Enjoy this weekend. And I'm glad to know that that's it. You're in the final push of that project. Hopefully, you'll be done soon so you can get more rest and you can go back to 5-day weeks as opposed to 6-day weeks. But thank you, my friend, for your donation. Let's do one more comment and then we will end this. But Barca Reloaded says, Barca. I can't read. Balde is a kid. He'll eventually reach the Nuno Mendes level. If we actually sold him, it would be one of the greatest regrets down the line. Do not sell. 100% agree with you. Again, we've already seen what Balde is capable of, right? And we already see that he's more than capable of being a starting left back for Barca. And he's not even close to his prime years. I mean, he's 21. We haven't even seen the best version of Balde, and his best version so far has been amazing. And that's not even the best that we're going to see. So to sell Balde would be an incredibly stupid decision. It would, we're going to be pulling our hair, in a year or two thinking like, I can't believe we let this guy go. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. But that is all. That is all. That is all. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your views, for your likes, for your subscriptions. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please make sure you do. It really, really helps the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing, man? Subscribe. Come on. And if you want to let me know your thoughts, your opinions about what I just told you, or what I just shared with you, make sure to drop a comment down below. I will be posting another video shortly, so stay tuned to the channel. I'll see you guys in that video. And as always, peace, Garza.